Hey, what's up, y'all? This is William, the Permaculture Consultant, and today we're going to be talking about my pig setup. Now, right now I have they're on a rotational grazing pattern, and they're going through a pretty new growth forest, as you can see through here. Now, right now they're at my father-in-law's place, but as soon as they complete this track through here, they'll be going to the future school demonstration site, which is where most of the videos occur, if you didn't know. So today I'm going to be walking you guys through step by step how I rotationally graze these guys through some new growth, pretty nasty new growth forest. So right now these guys are being held in. It's an electric net. It's from Premier One, and it's the sow and piglet electric net. I'm using two of these guys, and the paddock is in a rectangle. You guys will see here in a minute when I start moving the fence. They graduated from the food forest. They started here outside of the food forest. This is their second movement, and now they're going to basically do the same thing on this side. First thing I'm going to do is take this bucket of feed right here. It's just store-bought feed and some food scraps and stuff, and I'm going to feed them on the side that I'm going to be moving them towards. They're all following me right now. Now I'm going to be moving them that way, so I'm going to feed them on this side of the fence. Just tip that over, lift up the fence, let them go underneath. Come on, piggies. There it is. Go. Hey, where are you going? There we go. Now they're all over on that side. Now that's going to keep them occupied while I move the fence around them, basically. So the next step, I can actually kind of relax now because they're going to be so preoccupied. I like to use this here scythe for a lot of the clearing and just clear whatever is going to get in your way of putting up this fence. Yeah. Like Kenneth Swartz said, there's a hammer side to every tool. You just got to find it. It turns out the scythe has a hammer side as well. So now the next step is to disconnect this fence. I'm going to take this wire off, which is connecting to my Energizer, unclip these guys, and untie it. And I'm going to pick up this side first and run it through this way. And it's just going to basically flip back on itself. Now, if you're thinking like, hey, I have pretty thick or dense soil or anything like that, they do have ones that have drivable posts. You can use like a rubber mallet and drive them in. Now, this is my water trough. Holds about 10 gallons. And this is a trough that I keep biochar in. And they love this water, this trough of biochar. Whenever I fill it up with water, they love that one more than any other source of water. So it's a good source of minerals for them as part of their daily diet. Now we're going to go to the other end, the other connection point. This is where the other side of it connects of the same fence. And I'm going to pull it back on itself, which isn't going to be a whole lot because this is at a corner. It's basically just going to move there like that. So now I got this other fence picked up. I'm going to put the end post in right next to this guy. Now on the front of this, I did 2 spikes over before it started coming back in. So I'm going to mimic the same thing on this side and try to create keep as much of a rectangle or predictable shape as possible. Alrighty, so I got the pigs entirely enclosed around this fence, and you can see the other side just on the other side of it. And you can also see a little Chloe puppy over there. There you go, a little Chloe puppy. Now that they're entirely enclosed, I'm going to go ahead and walk around the perimeter of my fence. Here's my scythe right here. And make sure that there's no hang-ups or snags like this right here. Here you can see this branch got caught and it's lifting up the bottom of the fence. I also want to make sure that I have as little impedance on this fence as possible. That means like I want as little or as few things actually touching my fence in order to keep a higher voltage and also to keep my fence from burning up and stuff. I don't want any holes in my fence. But there's one side of the rectangle, over there's the other side of the rectangle, and they'll stay in this for about a week and a half. This previous paddock right here, I had them in here. I could have had them hit like this area a whole lot harder, but they're still little. They're maybe 12 weeks now, and they're kunis. So they're still little. They're not gonna create that much impact, especially until they get older. And I've been feeding them pretty well because I do want them to put on size. So the less I feed them, the more impact that they're gonna make on this new growth forest. Now you can see the before and the after pretty clearly. There's a lot more underbrush and growth in this paddock than there is right here. Now we're gonna hook the fence back up. We're gonna bring in their water. I'm not gonna bring in any kind of shelter for them right now because they are big enough, the temperature is moderate enough, and like there's a ton of overstory through here. So whenever it rains, it's not really hitting them that hard, and they love, like they're just gonna ignore the shelter anyways. They love bedding down by some of these giant pines and whatnot. So no point in even bringing their shelter over. I did use it to begin with. There is a video you can go back and see on how I built it. It was pretty cheap, pretty easy. It's just like a wooden frame with a cattle panel and a tarp over it. So yeah, pigs don't really need much. Once they hit 60 pounds, they're pretty doggone bulletproof. So here's my whole little Energizer setup right now. I got a deep cycle marine battery. Keep it in this battery case. Just keep it out of the elements and whatnot. And I've got this little DC Energizer from Tractor Supply. There's a green section, that's where your ground rod goes, or the wire to your ground rod. And then there's a red section, that's where your Energizer is going to connect to the fence. So you can see that. Green goes to ground, red goes to the fence. This DC version just has a 2 alligator clips that you connect to the battery. And the ground rod I'm using is just this T-shaped from Premier One. Now, you can get crazy with the ground rods if you want to, but I don't, and I've never had an issue with any grounding or anything like that. So, there we go. It's only about 4 feet tall. I got it sunken in about 3.5 feet deep. And now, all there is to do is connect the red to the positive and the black to the negative, and my fence is on. But I'm not done inside there yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep it disconnected. But it's and whenever I have it connected, I just put the lid on. It's a super simple system. It's only really 3 components: ground rod, the Energizer, and the battery. And then that is enough to power your fence. Now this battery has been lasting me for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, just energizing this fence. That's the only load it has on it. And then whenever it dies, I just bring it over to a trickle charger and charge it up. And now it's just time to fill up their water. Before I fill it out, I'm gonna give it a little scrubbing real quick. If you just grab some of the, hopefully not with the soil, but if you just grab some of the surrounding like vegetation and plants and stuff, you can usually scrub this out pretty well. Now pig water is always going to look dirty, and that's because as soon as they dip their nose in there, they're going to transfer a bunch of dirt and mud into your water. So don't be discouraged by it. Just make sure you change it out frequent enough, and just make sure it's mud from their little noses and not from just neglect of their water or anything like that. But they just get this water, which is just well water, and they're going to get that pan of biochar, or it's not biochar yet, it's charcoal and water. Now it's the homemade charcoal, it's not the Kingsford stuff, so don't put that out there for your pigs. And that's basically it. Now when you're doing this polywire setup and you're using 2 fences, you only want to connect one end. So an easy way to remember that is take the number of fences you have, subtract 1, and that's how many connections you have. So if I'm using 5 fences out here, I should have 4 connections. You don't want to create a completely closed loop. It's not good for your Energizer. It will eventually go out on you. So at this point, you can take your hot wire coming from your Energizer and connect it on any of the clips on your fence, because it's going to energize anything in contact with these clips. So I know electric fences can be tricky for some people. It doesn't have to be super difficult. He's over here checking out the new area. So there we go, y'all. That's basically it. The pigs are on a new pasture. That was the one they were on before, and they're gonna be moving that way in about a week and a half, 2 weeks. They have their water squared away. I fed them in the new spot, wrapped the fence around them, brought their water over, moved the fence, energizer, and then turned it back on. And that's literally it. That's the whole pig moving process. So if you guys have any questions, then leave them down below in the comments. If you need any consultations, then hit up the links down below in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you. Now, it might be a little difficult to see. This is the next day. This is the day after moving them, literally almost 24 hours later. And this is the amount of destruction and disturbance, not necessarily destruction, but disturbance that they've done over here on this front half of this paddock. Now, they've stopped. You see that pine tree right there that's pretty scarred up? That's about where they stopped at the disturbance. They haven't done anything past that, but this right here is about half of the paddock that they have access to, and they've already done a pretty good massage job on this landscape.